Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon, and we're going to dip back in on Cyberpunk 2077, and an interesting situation that Cyberpunk 2077 is getting review bombed on Metacritic, and what the motivation behind that might possibly be, because it's actually tied to the bonus structure, was reportedly tied to the bonus structure of CD Projekt Red employees. If they were to get a bonus, it was based on the Metacritic score of the game. I don't know why they would do that. Knowing how a lot of games are review bombed, movies are review bombed, I think it should go by financial performance. And the financial performance is incredible. Cyberpunk 2077 has reportedly sold 8 million copies or had 8 million downloads. Been pre-ordered 8 million times. So this is interesting. It's already recouped its development costs, according to CD Projekt Red. We'll talk about that because this game is going to sell very, very well. And we're going to talk about some salty journalists and how, this might, again, be a watershed moment for gaming. To me, this feels like the Joker situation last year, where the media had it out for the Joker for a variety of reasons, most of them political, and then it turned very personal as Warner shut them down from media access because they were out there trying to basically trick Joaquin Phoenix into throwing the movie under the bus or saying something stupid they could run with. And we know that the journalists have been after this game for years. They've been trying to find all kinds of problems with this game. And, it's definitely coming to a head, but at the end of the day, right? The end of the day, all that matters is how well the game is selling and how it's being received by individuals. Now, that's up for debate because I have heard complaints about at least the console versions of the game. From my point of view, we actually downloaded it on Steam. We have a couple of pretty decent gaming PCs, and the version I played was pretty fucking spectacular. I gotta tell you, Squid King and I started doing gameplay videos of Cyberpunk a couple days ago. Unfortunately, I couldn't post the videos because we had the game settings maxed out and it was like killing the computer to keep up the frame rate while recording the video and playing the game. But it's a beautiful game. It's an amazing game. Now, the console version I've heard is not as good. Not nearly as good. I wouldn't expect the PS4 version to be as good. So we'll talk about that. But my own personal opinion, it is just an opinion, is the game is pretty stellar. It really is. And I think with adding maybe some DLC down the road and patching it, we're going to talk about some of the patches. I think it's got a bright future ahead of it. This franchise has a bright future ahead of it, especially if it continues to sell as well as it has. So before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 150,000 subs. We're almost at 160. I think we're less than 1,000 away from 160. So thanks for the continued support. If you'd like to support us further, check out shopclownfish.com, and you can pre-order this pin set of our avatars, Kneon and Geeky pins. It's only going to be available for 9 days yet. They're going to ship after Christmas. This is a pre-order. I think they're shipping in the middle of January, something like that. That's what we're being told. And you can also go out and check out all the other holiday merch we have out there, including Festivus sweaters, Suck a Peach mugs, Clownfish hoodies, and hats, and all sorts of stuff. Best way to support us, honestly, because we don't have a Patreon or anything like that. So it basically comes down to ad revenue and merch sales, and any support is greatly appreciated. Now, Geeky is going to be sitting this one out for a couple reasons. One, I don't think she gives a shit about Cyberpunk 2077. It's definitely not her kind of game. And she's also helping to pack up a bunch of orders that she got through her Etsy shop for her toy drive. For the last week or so, she's been taking orders through her shop, and all the proceeds were going to go to buy toys for underprivileged kids. Good toys too, not like dollar store stuff. I mean, there's freaking Nerf guns and American Girl dolls and Fortnite stuff and expensive Imaginext play sets and all that. So let's talk about this. First, I want to give you the good news. Cyberpunk has already recouped its development costs. This is coming from Polygon. It had to pain them, I'm sure, to write this because, outlets like Polygon have been gunning for this game for quite some time, but it is a smashing success. Cyberpunk 2077 has already paid for itself. In a memo issued Friday, CD Projekt, the parent company of developer CD Projekt Red, said that its revenue from digital pre-order sales alone exceeds all of Cyberpunk 2077's production costs and all of the company's marketing and promotional costs for the game this year in like a couple of days. Compare that to Square Enix, which lost $50 million on Avengers, right? In a series of tweets issued on Thursday, CD Projekt announced that Cyberpunk 2077 had been pre-ordered more than 8 million times. Nearly 3/4 of those pre-orders were for digital copies of the game, for which CD Projekt has a higher profit margin than for physical copies. The company also announced that sales of Cyberpunk 2077 on Steam crossed the 50 million mark over 2 weeks ago, meaning that from that point forward, it's been receiving 80% of royalties from the platform. All of this is good news for the individual workers making the game, as they have been promised a 10% share of the company's annual profit for 2020, just as in recent years. A full accounting of CD Projekt's bottom line and the full scope of the financial success of Cyberpunk 2077 won't surface until the company's next investor report in 2021. Yeah, so this is interesting because their bonus reportedly, and we're going to talk about this, originally it was being reported that the bonus of the folks who worked on this game was tied to review scores, not financial performance. This is coming from Rock, Paper, Shotgun. This says, reported by Bloomberg, CDPR planned only to pay out bonuses if the game hit 90 or above on review aggregation site Metacritic. Granted, it's sitting with a 90 there right now, but with reviews of the particularly rough last-gen console versions dipping into the sub-50s, there's a good chance that the score could easily slip. Now, apparently, this is changing, again, according to Polygon, that they're going to make more money, and they should, for as much money as this thing made. We initially had a bonus system that was focused on the game's ratings and the release date, but after consideration, we believe that measure is simply not fair under the circumstances. The circumstances being the game is selling incredibly well. Studio head Adam Badowski wrote in an internal email obtained by Bloomberg. We underestimated the links and complexity involved to make this a reality, and still you did everything you could to deliver an ambitious special game. So yeah, hopefully they get what they deserve the game. Again, my personal opinion from what we played of it, a few hours into it, I think it's fucking amazing. I do. I think it's an incredible game. I think it was worth the wait. That is, disclaimer, that is the PC version on a higher end gaming machine. Okay. We're not talking about the console version. And that's where things get tricky because initially their bonuses were tied to the Metacritic score. And as you can see, the Metacritic scores are not terribly good. The user scores are, 3.1 for Xbox One, 2.5 for PS4, the PC's at 6.5. But could it be because it had been leaked that their bonuses were dependent on Metacritic, that they were review bombed to make sure these guys didn't get paid? That could be what's going on. And look, there's been a lot of outrage by the gaming media over this game because they're not playing ball like the other developers, like The Last of Us Part 2. They're not playing ball. CD Projekt Red did not provide journalists, as I understand it, with review copies, but they did send out boxes, care packages to influencers, YouTubers, bloggers, etc., hoping for an unbiased opinion because, again, the gaming press, the media, they've been attacking this game for years. Kind of like they do with the Joker. Every other week you turn around, there's something new about the Joker that was problematic that journalists were having a shit fit about. Really, they're just looking for clicks. And the Joker was trending, and they know if they put something controversial out there, they'll get clicks. They probably get paid more. I know a lot of these websites have bonus structure set up. The more hits you get, the more you get paid. So it benefits you to put out clickbait so you get paid more. But in this case, the review bombing could have actually led to the developers, the hardworking developers, making less money. But Forbes lays it out. They said Cyberpunk 2077 is getting destroyed on Metacritic, and they think it's being review bombed. They say it was bound to happen. Cyberpunk 2077 launched to somewhat mixed reviews, but still managed to rack up an excellent Metacritic score, 90 at last count. That's for the PC. Yeah, and I want to disclaim, we've only played the PC version. I have not played the PS4 version or the Xbox version. We've only played it on PC. Every reviewer played the game before launch. On PC, after launch, the narrative has shifted. Not only does the game have issues on lower spec PCs, it's an absolute disaster on consoles, particularly on the Xbox One and the PS4. And with little to no official reviews representing those versions of the games, user reviews are beginning to fill the void. There are no official reviews because you didn't send us review copies, CD Projekt Red. This isn't quite a Warcraft Reforged situation, which I believe still holds the record for lowest user score ever. It is, however, pretty bad. On Xbox One, the user score at the time of this writing sits at 2.3. PS4 is 1.9. I think that's gone up somewhat. Yeah. There's definitely some bleed from console anger affecting the PC score as well. It leaves me with an interesting problem. Says the journalist, I think you can definitely call this review bombing, a practice that can be highly problematic when people do it because they don't like the representation or politics of a given game. Interesting. They don't like the representation or politics of a given game. There's been a lot of outcry by journalists, not Forbes. Forbes, I'll be honest, Forbes is probably one of the most fair gaming journalist teams out there. I've actually found them to be very, very fair. They're kind of like old school game magazines like EGM, what GamePro used to be, etc. And I have a lot more respect for the guys at Forbes than I do for the guys at like Polygon and Kotaku, The Verge, etc. But people have been complaining about representation or lack of representation, even though the game was originally created by a black guy. There's not enough representation. They've been calling it transphobic. They don't like the politics of it because, that's probably what's going on. And yet in this specific instance, it seems more than reasonable, particularly considering that there are no critic reviews for the PS4 and only 2 for the Xbox One, not enough to make a score by Metacritic's standards. Without that, user reviews are the only voices on the site that are talking about just how busted the game is on last-gen consoles. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I've heard that it's too much for the PS4 and the Xbox One. It's too much, but I think there's more to it. I think because it was announced that, and again, this is my personal opinion, because it was announced that the developers' bonuses were contingent on Metacritic scores, and people are salty about this game for a variety of reasons, that could absolutely be affecting the scores. They're like, well, we're going to show them. They're not going to get their bonus. We're going to review bomb the shit out of this. Metacritic has changed its system so users couldn't write reviews until 24 hours after a game's release, preventing the sorts of pre-release review bombing we saw with The Last of Us Part 2. Why are they changing the system for The Last of Us Part 2? That's what happened with Captain Marvel too. Like there's always one controversial movie or game or piece of media that requires that these review sites change everything to accommodate. And that just kind of again shows me that The Last of Us Part 2 was artificially propped up because we had to change the whole system because God forbid people didn't actually like it for legit reasons. Now I'm not going to say that the terrible scores for the PS4 and the Xbox One are phony. Not all of them, because I have heard that it just does not work that well. It's not the game that's been advertised on a last-gen console. It's like comparing, Sega Genesis game to an NES game. They're not going to look the same. And usually when they show you screenshots, they show you the best version of the game, which is PC, high-end gaming machine. It's an incredible experience. But yeah, just consoles, maybe not so much. I'm interested to watch this develop. They said Forbes, will the score get lower? Higher? My guess is lower, but there are likely enough CD Projekt Red fanatics to keep it from dipping below 1. Hopefully some sites can start putting review scores out to fill the critic side of the equation too. It's been a rough launch for the game, which has been disappointing to see. I've been genuinely loving it on my high-spec PC. Yeah, that's it. The rig we have is, i9 processor. It runs great. It's great, which clearly shows that's how it was meant to be played. But if you're going to charge $60 for a game on the platform, it should work on that platform. It's just too big of a game for a last-gen console. So it's going to be really interesting to see this. Again, my personal feeling on this is it's being review bombed. If it is being review bombed, it's because of this bonus structure they had, because they're going to punish the developers for making this game. But you know what? They're laughing all the way to the bank. So, whatever, haters are going to hate. I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.